The room went quiet the second my father said it. "You can take the spare room," he added, glancing at my mother, "or you can find somewhere else." It was said casually, like he was offering me a beverage, not like he was deciding where his own child would lay their head. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd once built forts with blankets and played board games on rainy afternoons. The same table where we used to argue about who got the last slice of birthday cake. My mother didn't look at me. She focused on her plate, cutting her food into precise, identical pieces as if this conversation wasn't happening. As if I wasn't sitting right there, the spare room. The room reserved for strangers, for distant cousins passing through, for people who didn't stay long. People who didn't matter. I was 24. Back home temporarily after a brutal stretch, job loss, empty savings, the kind of exhaustion that settles into your bones. They'd said it was fine. Stay until you're back on your feet, they'd said. Apparently, my feet were supposed to be somewhere else. "I don't understand," I said carefully. "I've been in my old room." My mother finally looked up. Her expression was pinched, impatient. "That room isn't yours anymore," she said. "Your sister needs it when she visits. And honestly, it's time you stop treating this like a permanent arrangement." Treating it like a permanent arrangement. I paid them rent. I bought my own food. I kept to myself. I didn't have people over. I cleaned up after myself. I made myself small, invisible. None of it mattered. My sister, who lived 3 hours away, visited maybe 4 times a year and still had her high school posters on the walls, needed the room more than I did. My father cleared his throat. "You're not a child anymore. Adults don't live with their parents." I almost laughed at the absurdity. My sister was 29 and still had a key to the house. Still showed up without warning. Still asked to borrow money when her credit card got too high. But she wasn't the problem, I was. I looked around the table, the familiar scuffs on the chairs, the lingering smell of dinner, the house that never quite felt like mine unless I was performing gratitude exactly the way they expected. "So those are my options," I said flatly. "The spare room or leave?" My mother nodded. "We're just being honest. Honest." That word cut deeper than the ultimatum itself. Honesty would have been admitting they'd made this decision long before tonight. This was just the first time they'd said it aloud. I pushed my chair back slowly. My hands trembled, but my voice stayed steady. "When do you want me gone?" My father hesitated just a fraction of a second. Then, soon, a few days probably. A few days to pack up my life again. I stood, pushed my chair in, and nodded as if this was reasonable. As if this wasn't my parents quietly telling me I no longer belonged under their roof. "I'll figure it out," I said. No one stopped me as I walked away from the table. Not when I climbed the stairs. Not when I closed my bedroom door. Not when I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the walls that no longer felt like mine. That night, I lay awake listening to the house settle. Every creak sounded like a warning: spare room or leave. They thought those were my only choices. They had no idea what I was about to choose. I barely slept. Every time I drifted off, I heard my father's voice again. "You can take the spare room or find somewhere else." Like I was luggage they could store or discard. By morning, I'd made my decision. I wasn't taking the spare room. That room wasn't an offer, it was a statement. "You're temporary, you're tolerated. You don't belong here." I went downstairs early before anyone else woke, made coffee. Wiped down the counters, old habits. Years of trying to earn space in a house I'd grown up in. My mother came in while I was rinsing my mug. "So," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Have you thought about it?" I nodded. "Yes." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "Good. The spare room is all ready whenever you want to move your things." "I'm moving out." She froze mid-reach for the coffee pot. "What?" "I'll be gone within the week," I said calmly. "Probably sooner." She frowned. "You don't need to be dramatic. We offered you a room. You offered me less," I said quietly, and called it generous. My father walked in then, mug in hand. He listened without comment as my mother explained, adding remarks about me being too sensitive, misunderstanding their intentions. Finally, he asked, "Where are you even going to go?" That was the thing. I didn't fully know yet, but for the first time in months, the uncertainty felt better than staying. "I'll figure it out," I said. They exchanged a look, the kind parents give when they're certain their child is making a mistake they'll regret. I packed that day, not dramatically, not angrily. I packed that day, not dramatically, not angrily, just steadily. Clothes into bags, books into boxes. Old mementos I left behind without a second thought. My sister's things still filled the shelves in my old room. No one suggested moving them. On the third day, my mother stood in my doorway watching me pack. "You know," she said, "most people would be grateful we let them stay." I looked at her, really looked at her. "Most parents wouldn't make their child feel like a burden." She scoffed. "You're twisting everything." Maybe, or maybe this was just the first time I wasn't twisting myself to fit. That night, I slept on the floor surrounded by boxes. I'd already returned the bed to the house. The next morning, I loaded my car. My father watched from the porch, arms crossed. No hug goodbye, no text us when you get there. Just silence. As I pulled away, I waited for the familiar guilt to hit. The panic, the urge to turn back and apologize for existing. It never came. Instead, there was relief. I moved into a small studio across town. Bare walls, secondhand furniture. A mattress on the floor. But it was mine, no spare room. No conditions, no quiet reminders that I was just passing through. Weeks passed, then months. They didn't call much. When they did, the conversation stayed surface. Weather, work, nothing real. And I noticed something unexpected. The further I got from that house, the easier it became to breathe. What they didn't understand was this. They hadn't pushed me toward independence. They'd pushed me toward freedom. And I was done trying to earn a place I should have had all along. They didn't notice at first. That was the part that stung more than I expected. Not anger, not confrontation, just how easily they continued on without me in the background. No calls asking if I was okay. No, have you eaten? No concern at all. Then small things started to surface. My mother called one evening, frustration in her voice. "Did you take the folder with the insurance papers?" "No," I said. "It's in the blue drawer, bottom shelf." A pause. Oh, she hadn't even known where to look. A week later, my father texted asking how to log into the streaming account. Then about the Wi-Fi password. Then about a bill he didn't understand. I answered politely, briefly, like a stranger helping another stranger. And that's when it clicked. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did. The quiet fixing, the remembering, the emotional cushioning. One Sunday, my mother finally said it. "The house feels different." I smiled even though she couldn't see it. "Yeah, it does," she hesitated. "You could come for dinner sometime. Use your old room." Your old room. Not your room. Not your home. "I'm busy," I said. And for once it wasn't a lie. Life had filled the empty spaces faster than I expected. Friends who noticed when I was quiet. Work that didn't treat me like an inconvenience. Even silence felt kinder. A month later, my sister called. "They say you've changed, that you're distant." "I am," I said. "Distance changes things." She laughed awkwardly. "You'll get over it." "No," I said softly. I got through it. The final moment came on an ordinary Tuesday. My father called. His voice was different, less certain, less firm. "Your mother's been upset," he said. "She thinks maybe we were too hard on you." "Maybe. Don't you want to talk about it?" He asked. I did. But not the way he expected. "I built a life where I don't feel like I'm asking permission to exist," I said. "I'm not giving that up." Silence stretched between us. "I hope you're happy," he finally said. "I am," I replied, and meant it. They never apologized outright, not really. But they stopped mentioning the spare room. They stopped making demands. And for the first time, they spoke to me like someone who could leave and stay gone. Because I had. Not out of anger, out of self-respect. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't fighting to stay. It's walking away and choosing yourself.